You've heard the advice a million times. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? It's the first rule of investing. But what if, during a storm, all those different baskets suddenly become one giant, fragile one? Today, we're diving into the powerful and, let's be honest, sometimes perilous world of portfolio math.
Okay, so let's get right into it. This is really the central question of investing, isn't it? In a world where everything seems to be volatile, how do you actually build something that gives you a little bit of safety without just, giving up on all your potential for growth? For decades, the answer from the pros has been this powerful set of ideas called mean variance analysis. We're just going to call it portfolio math. Think of it as the blueprint, the architectural plan that most investors use to build what they hope is a really sturdy financial house. But, and this is a big but, this powerful tool is really a double-edged sword. It gives us some brilliant insights for sure, but if you treat it as some kind of foolproof system for managing risk, well, you could be steering yourself directly into a financial storm. Let's find out why. First up, let's look at the brilliant idea that's really at the heart of all this. This is the logic of diversification, and honestly, it's where the real genius of the framework is. The core insight here is a total game changer. It says the risk of your portfolio isn't just adding up the risk of each thing in it. No, what really matters is how all those parts move in relation to each other. You can think of it like a dance. Are they all moving in sync, or do they have different rhythms? The pros call this covariance, and it's the secret sauce that can make a portfolio much safer. Now, this shows something that feels a little bit like magic. We've got two assets here, A and B, and on their own, they're both pretty wild rides. They bounce around a lot. That's what we typically call risky. But check out what happens when you combine them. Because they don't always go up and down at the exact same time, their individual movements can kind of cancel each other out. And this just brilliantly illustrates the power of diversification. The total risk of the portfolio can drop a lot, making the whole thing much safer than either part on its own. So far, so good, right? It looks like a perfect system, a mathematical promise of safety. But as we're about to see, this whole beautiful structure, it's built on a very shaky foundation. And here it is. This is the fatal flaw. The source material puts it perfectly. The model's core assumptions about how markets behave, they just aren't stable. They work great when the market is calm, but they completely fall apart during a crisis, which is, of course, exactly when you need them the most. See, the math assumes that the relationships between your investments are like a predictable dance with set steps. But reality's way more like a mosh pit. When things get crazy, all those carefully choreographed moves just go right out the window, and everybody starts moving in the same chaotic direction, and yep, that direction is usually down. So what does this actually mean for your beautifully diversified portfolio? Well, it means that the diversification you are banking on can often just be an illusion, like a mirage that vanishes right when you're crawling towards it in the desert of a market crash. Take a look at this. I mean, on paper, this portfolio looks fantastic, totally diversified. You've got different asset classes, stocks, bonds, you've got different instruments, credit, equity, and you've got different geographies, the US, Europe, emerging markets. It seems to tick all the right boxes. But here's the hidden danger. During a major crisis, all of these seemingly separate assets become exposed to the same invisible risk. Maybe it's a global liquidity crunch or just a massive risk-off panic. Suddenly, they're all correlated to that one single factor, and they all start to fall at once. Your diversified portfolio suddenly starts acting like one big, concentrated bet. This scary phenomenon actually has a name. It's called tail dependence. And it just means that during those really extreme market meltdowns, the tail events on the bell curve, all your carefully chosen investments can suddenly become joined at the hip. And just like that, the diversification you thought you had, it's gone. Poof. Okay, so if the model is so flawed, why do we even still use it? Why is it considered a necessary part of any serious risk management? Well, it's because its true purpose is often completely misunderstood. The key is to see portfolio math as a diagnostic tool, not a control system. This nautical chart analogy is just perfect. The chart is essential, right? It shows you the known reefs, the water depths when the weather's clear. But in a hurricane, you have to know how to read the storm itself. The map is your starting point, not an autopilot. So the smart way to use this math is to ask the really tough what-if questions before the storm hits. Instead of just blindly trusting the model's output, you have to push it to its limits. You have to ask, what happens to my money if everything goes wrong at the same time?
This helps you find the weak spots in your portfolio and gives you a much better gut feeling for the real risks you're taking.
And that is why, despite all its flaws, portfolio math is still absolutely indispensable. It forces you to think about how risks add up. It shines a bright light on hidden concentrations you might not see otherwise. It gives everyone a common language to talk about risk. And maybe most importantly, it stops us from making even simpler, more dangerous mistakes, like just naively thinking you can add up risks one by one.
So the real key takeaway here is this. Diversification isn't some magic shield that works automatically. It's a dynamic property of your portfolio that can and absolutely will change when it's under stress. Understanding its limits and knowing what hidden factors might suddenly unite all your assets in a crisis, that is the first step to building a truly robust portfolio.